My patchy facial hair grows back pretty fast, but shaving so often can be tough on my sensitive skin. And my wallet. That's why before I shave, I slather on a healthy layer of cherry Coke. Ever been to a convention? Ever gone to the vendors area and seen how they tend to price things a lot higher than they usually would? Well, what does it say that I bought this game at a convention and I could have covered this for either Scion or $5 gaming?
I'm sure you can name at least a couple instances of parkour in games or movies. Mirror's Edge, the chase scene in Casino Royale, but how many can you name from before 2008? Assassin's Creed? Ninja Gaiden? Some Prince of Persia games? It's been around for a while, but it really grew in popularity in the mid-2000s, to the point that the World Free-Running Parkour Federation was formed in 2007. You know what else formed in 2007? Free Running for the PlayStation 2 and PSP, made by Rebellion, best known for owning the comic company behind Rogue Trooper and Judge Dredd, but also the Sniper Elite series, several Alien vs. Predator titles, and Never Dead.
I have something extra special for you. Have you noticed that you're in my stomach? Is that right?
It also involved Raylight Games, best known for the unreleased Game Boy Advance version of Resident Evil 2? Released only in Europe, it got, let's call it, middling reception from critics. Still, it was apparently worthy enough of getting ported to the PC and Wii in 2009, again in Europe. Not to worry though, North Americans, Wyoming-based Graffiti Entertainment published the Wii version for you in 2010, and were forced to drop out of game publishing 2 years later. It's okay, they got back in after a year by publishing a bunch of crappy mobile games.
Their website lists almost 100 Apple and Android games, each of them with broken coding, broken English in the description, and presumably broken terms of service rules. I say that because all of these games, every last one of them, got pulled from the iTunes and Google Play stores.
Back to free running. You make a profile and pick one of 7 tracers to start, each somehow exhibiting less personality than the game's box art. That's the face of a man who's programmed to not give a shit. What do these icons and bars mean to the right? Well, the game doesn't explain them, and the instruction book doesn't explain them either. As far as I can tell, the bottom one is speed, the middle one is vitality, and the top one is also speed, but not as speedy as the bottom speed, so base speed versus sprinting speed.
Speed.
The game is divided up into 3 areas, each of which has 3 or 4 levels, each of which has 10 challenges, except the ones that don't. This includes the gym, a tutorial stage which took me over half an hour to finish, partly because of the control complexity, which I'll get into later, and partly because at some points you can do everything right and still fail a tutorial. You enter each area by picking one of several missions. Freestyle is usually the first one you'll see, which lets you wander around the environment and do 4 or 5 shorter versions of other missions, after which you get what is essentially a free gold medal. Other missions award bronze, silver, or gold depending on performance, but freestyle only gives you gold. Other missions consist of the following. Time Attack has you run through a bunch of rings as fast as possible. Target Hit has you collect a series of icons before time runs out, some of which are really picky about how close you have to be to get them. There's a variant of this where each target hit adds some extra time, and this game thinks it's clever for counting that as a separate mission type. Ground Zero has you move across a level or collect targets without touching the ground. Free Race pits you against another tracer as you both race through a series of rings. To get better than a bronze, you have to do tricks to earn a certain amount of points for silver and gold, though usually you do most of these tricks just by navigating around obstacles, so whatever. Chase and Race is the same thing as Free Race except more linear. How are these 2 different modes? Landmark Hit asks you to climb to one of the highest points of a level to collect a trophy as fast as possible. Flow Challenge comes in 2 types. The first has you go for a high score by performing as many tricks as possible. The second asks you to keep your flow meter, the green foot to the lower right, above a certain threshold by landing tricks, or you fail.
This is approaching Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 levels of copying missions, tweaking them slightly, and saying there's something new and different.
And finally, there's the fun mission, Crash Test. You take control of a crash dummy named Max Damage and rack up as many points as possible by collecting icons or hitting TNT boxes and getting thrown around the stage. Points are based on how long you're airborne and how hard you hit the ground, multiplied by how many icons or boxes you hit in a single ragdoll. There are also Joker coins which add a free multiplier, so they're basically necessary to get the higher scores. Max isn't alone though, because everyone in the game ragdolls if they fall far enough or take a hard enough hit. The one drawback to this mode is if you fall without hitting an icon, it doesn't count. Not even if you fall several stories off a building. Each mission has set items it will unlock when completed with a bronze, silver, or gold medal. Some unlock other missions. Some unlock extra tricks or music for the in-game music player. Some unlock extra clothes for your tracer. And some unlock absolutely nothing, regardless of what medal you get. Oh, right, some of these also unlock multiplayer modes. Yeah, you need to unlock most of the multiplayer modes, and usually you have to get a gold medal to do it. Since I mentioned it earlier, you might be drawing comparisons to another game with a similar progression system. Matt Hoffman's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. There are, however, some key drawbacks which make free running more of a chore to play. In Pro Skater, you can usually get away with not doing certain objectives on stages that are either too difficult or just not fun to grind through. Free running all but requires at least getting bronze on every mission. There were a couple times I ran out of things to do and had to go back to get higher medals and hopefully unlock other missions. Also, you frequently have to go forward one area and complete missions to unlock other missions in levels you already passed. With this system in place, a single playthrough of free running took me longer to finish than Secret of Mana. Pro Skater has a full move set for each character, then later games have extra special tricks or trick slots to earn and assign later. Free running forces you to start with a bare bones move list and unlock more tricks, usually with silver and gold medals, to get better scores. Pro Skater has you earn enough skill points to eventually max out a character. Stats in free running are determined by the clothes a tracer wears. These are earned by getting gold medals on certain missions, and it's not possible to max out every stat, with one exception I'll get to later. Pro Skater, generally speaking, has good music for its soundtracks. Free running has music that's either forgettable background noise at best, or annoyingly repetitive at worst. All of this pales to the most telling comparison between the two. The controls. Flips, grinds, and grabs in Pro Skater are done by hitting a direction and the flip, grind, or grab button. It's quick, simple, and keeps the game moving at a fast pace. Free running has you input all the button presses for flips and poses before jumping. The following are actual inputs for a trick or tricks in free running. Forward flip, B, 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 then A. Flying dagger, aka the T-pose, Z, B, Z, then A. Aerial spin, B, B, Z, then A. Axe kick, Z, Z, B, then flick the nunchuck up. Or how about flick flack to flash kick? B, Z, flick the nunchuck up, C to keep the move going, then Z, B, and A. Those are just the moves I bothered to learn. How about the leapfrog flick? B, B, Z, and C while running into an obstacle. Or hold C, run into a wall, then press Z, B, Z, and C again for the vertical wall run 540 spiral.
And before you ask, the controls are slightly better with the classic controller than they are with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. In kind of the same way that losing all 4 fingers and your thumb is better than losing the entire hand.
The good news is that there's a fair delay between tricks where you can reposition yourself and still have everything count as part of the same combo. The bad news is the trick multiplier doesn't go up at all if you do the same trick more than once, and it caps at 5 even if you do way more different tricks than that. Tricks are supposed to be worth less points as you do them over and over in the same combo, but free running seems to have a bad short-term memory. I would do a trick like the flying dragon 3 times, then do other tricks, then come back to the flying dragon later and get full points for it. The system feels like it was never fully planned out before being put into the game, which might explain why most of the game doesn't rely on doing a lot of tricks, and why it's so loose with the definition of what a trick is. I have a lot of questions about why some things are considered tricks and some aren't. There are grinds in this game, but grinding isn't considered a trick, except when it is. Horizontal wall runs are a trick, but vertical wall runs aren't. There are no gap bonuses in this game, so clearing big gaps doesn't earn you anything. Vaulting a rail isn't a trick, but vaulting a pedestal is. A safe landing isn't considered a trick, neither is a precision landing on a rail or narrow ledge, but a breakfall landing is. Tic-tacs, the equivalent of a wall jump, are considered tricks. So is a pole-to-pole, done by hitting A to jump between vertical or horizontal poles. Cat leaps are also considered tricks, done by hitting C while grabbing a ledge. But not when you're going from ledge to ledge and hit C to move faster. That's not a trick. And you'd better like the C button, or Y on the classic controller, because you're going to be pressing it constantly in free running. The C button is used for catching a ledge if you fall off of it, safe landings on the ground so you can move faster, safe grabs on ledges so you can move faster, precision landings on rails, vaulting rails and ledges, starting horizontal wall runs, starting vertical wall runs, starting wall walks and pharaoh climbs, and grabbing poles to swing out of horizontal wall runs. Free running constantly struggles with trying to tell what kind of wall run you want to do. I don't think I went through a single challenge without having the wrong wall run register at least twice. Not only do you have to do a safe or break fall even if you're just dropping 2 feet or while landing on any rail or ledge, you have to do it after every trick involving a pose or flip. Otherwise you'll either stumble or faceplant. The same button having multiple functions is a common practice in free running. Break falls are done by swinging the Wii remote down, or pressing X. Sprinting, indicated by the blue footprint on the right, is assigned to the same input. Quick turns are done by swinging the nunchuck up. This also initiates several flat ground tricks. As a result, my tracer would frequently do a 180 when I tried doing certain tricks. This is also caused by another recurring problem in free running: dropped inputs. I hated doing any high score challenges in this game, because when doing moves that require more than 2 button presses or motions, there was about a 1 in 3 chance that at least one input wouldn't register. Simple tricks and maneuvers usually worked just fine, but things frequently fell apart when I had to do a more complex sequence of moves that didn't involve just pressing jump over and over. I had a challenge I was stuck on for over an hour because I couldn't get the right sequence of moves to register. And then there's the camera. Dear God, the camera in this game.
I realize I referenced Resident Evil in the $5 gaming video I just did, but it's important for the point I'm trying to make here.
Resident Evil had first-person controls so that when the camera angle changed, you would keep moving in the direction you wanted. If it had third-person controls, you'd end up veering into a wall or an enemy or otherwise moving where you didn't want to go. This is what free running does. Okay, just gotta get enough speed and make
check
this.
this out. It's gonna be awesome. What would I do when
no,
you hit
no,
the
don't
statue?
change the view. No. Oh
Did you
God,
see
that was
that,
close.
dude?
I almost
That
ran
was
off the edge, you
awesome.
dumbass. Okay, I gotta nail this sequence, or I'm not going to be fast enough for the goal. Why did you do that?
Dramatic camera angles.
I
bro.
gotta
had the
restart. You're the
perfect
fucking
view for
worst,
that.
man.
Dude, calm down.
Take your Sonic Adventure camera work and get the fuck out. That's free running, a game with a third-person control style and a camera which constantly swings around to either disorient the player or throw the tracer off a ledge. It's more concerned with finding cool-looking angles than keeping the game, playable. Then again, everything about this feels really low rent, namely compared to the PAL version. This is what the loading screens looked like in the European release. This is what the North American version got. I don't know who they commissioned from DeviantArt to draw these, but all I want to know is, what the hell is this guy looking at?
Probably a tracer falling off a building because the camera swung around on him when he wasn't expecting it.
Eventually, I reached a point where I had no more challenges I could do, and there were still 3 levels left to unlock. Then I realized all I had available was a challenge for a new character. who says this.
Don't expect the same treatment from me. Come to think of it, I don't even think you're up for it yet. Go get one of those New Planet Jump t-shirts. Then I might consider giving you a chance.
And guess what? I didn't have a Planet Jump shirt. If you don't have it by this point, you have to go back and get gold medals on all the other challenges until it shows up. I had gold medals in all but 4 challenges, and this goddamn shirt still wasn't showing up. This is something unlockable character challenges force you to do. Have a certain item or a certain amount of progress before being able to face someone. The first guy required wearing a certain kind of shoes.
By the way, nice trainers, mate.
And one of the later guys requires 50 gold medals before you can face him.
You got 50 gold medals, that's not bad.
Not to make another Tony Hawk comparison, but you could get bronze on every challenge in that game and still technically finish it.
Forcing unlockable items and characters to be gatekeepers for later parts of the game. Ooh, you better believe that's a paddling.
You know how you get the Planet Jump shirt? By getting a gold medal on target hit on the fighter level. That's a freebie for you guys on GameFAQs. Levels give set rewards for bronze, silver, and gold, but you can't tell which levels give what rewards, so it's a complete crapshoot figuring out where to get certain clothes or how to unlock more challenges. Even then, the unlocked character is all but worthless to you. Yes, all the unlockable characters have much better stats than the regular ones, including Max Damage, who, appropriately, has every stat maxed out. But there's a catch. Once you pick a tracer for your profile, you can't switch to another one. The only way you'll be able to use the unlocked characters is in multiplayer or by starting the game over on a new profile. Way to dangle that carrot in front of the player's face, free running. Over the course of the game, you keep going back to challenge your mentor, 60, spelled like this, because it's cooler that way, I guess? Actually, this is something that was changed when it was ported to North America. In the PAL version, this guy's name is Sébastien Foucan, a real-life freerunner from France who owns his own freerunning academy. Other freerunners were used in this game too, but all their names and likenesses were altered or removed, which included removing the video section and all video unlockables entirely from the North American release. There was also product placement for shoes in the PAL version, which would explain why the PS2 release has the Adidas logo on the back, but the North American release doesn't. The last time you challenge 60 is almost the same as the second time you face him, with 2 key differences. The path you follow is slightly different, and instead of the game asking you to do certain types of tricks, it asks you to do specific tricks. This, much like any other race in the game, involves you failing repeatedly just trying to figure out where you're supposed to go and what tricks you're supposed to do. It also highlights yet another problem with freerunning. Sometimes when you jump, the game predicts where you want to go and guides you towards that point, like a rail or a ledge. As the environments get more complex, or you're in an area with more things to land on or jump to, it frequently guesses wrong where you want to go and kills your run. Then there are times where you anticipate it happening, like jumping toward a pole, and it doesn't work. So even when you actually want it to happen, there's a good chance it won't.
So do I want it to happen and then get pissed when it doesn't work? Or do I want it to not happen, then get pissed when it doesn't work? Or do I want it to happen and... What am I criticizing?
Back to that final challenge against 60. It also has the target hit problem, where if you aren't right next to an icon when doing the trick called for, you won't pick it up and you lose a lot of time. Even with much higher stats than 60 and his not doing safe falls or cat leaps, just like every other tracer in the game, he can still overtake you easily after 1 or 2 mistakes. Dropped inputs are back with a vengeance, particularly after precision landings when you have to do specific jumps. The worst part, though, is the last trick of the run, a butterfly kick. This type of trick, done in a narrow passage or too close to a wall, usually results in the tracer clipping against the environment and ragdolling to the ground, killing whatever combo you're in. And they had the balls to put the icon for this right on top of a barrel. I had to run past it and do the kick to not wipe out.
I knew you could do it. Your training is complete, and you are a true advanced pro tracer. This is not the end, though. Ability is one thing, but experience and knowledge are far more powerful. To become a master tracer, you must go on another journey. But not just yet.
You're ending with sequel bait. For this.
The cherry on top of all this is that it says I 100% completed the game, even though there were a few challenges I didn't get gold medals for. But that's okay. If this GameFAQs post is to be believed, even when getting all gold medals, you somehow still don't unlock everything. A+ design. Free running is a game you'll think more highly of the less you play it. Not that that's saying much. At first its flaws can be glossed over or otherwise aren't deal-breaking, leading to a largely mediocre experience. But as the environments get more complex, and it asks you to perform greater feats and do the same or similar missions over and over and over again, sometimes 3 times in a single level, its problems snowball and the game's structure collapses. I had zero desire to go back and play anything, even the not as bad crash test sections. It's a disposable, play it and forget it, one and done experience, and not a very good one. Rough sales figures seem to agree, at least for the Wii version, which sold an estimated 40,000 copies worldwide, excluding Japan because they never got it. It managed to sell another 10,000 or so PSP copies in Europe, but none in the Americas because, like the DS version as a whole, that port was also cancelled.
I don't know if the other versions of free running are better than the Wii version. I heard that the PS2 PAL version isn't terrible, but considering a lot of the problems with free running aren't part of the port job and are part of the design of the game itself, I doubt they're anything fantastic. Or at the very least, not enough to save the DS version of the game from getting cancelled. Although I might be a bit biased on this. You see, I was never much of a free running guy, and I was always more of a soaps guy. If you'll excuse me.
Shout out to Ames. No! Oh yeah! Rolling around at the speed of sound. Got places to go, gotta follow my rainbow. Jesus is everything. Trust your feelings, got high school ball moving ahead. No time for records, all margins today.
It's harder than it looks.
Want to take anything back about free runners?
No.
Set me free. Trust me and we will escape from the city. I'll make it through. Follow me. Set me free. Trust me and we will escape from the city. I'll make it follow me to you. Follow me.
I gotta wash my face now. I gotta throw out that blade because it's covered in soda. I gotta drink the cherry coke. Okay, I guess that part's not so bad.